Okay, we're going to be fixing this iPhone 5. As you can tell, it's got all cracked up here. And this is straight up, so all the mess ups are in here. First of all, some packing tape. Because what we're going to do with the packing tape, just cut yourself a little strip about yay big. Just long enough to cover the face of it. What this is going to do is it's going to help us when we're trying to pry everything apart to keep the glass all together so it's not cracking up. You don't need over the whole thing, just mainly over top of where it's all splintered. And as you see, I have a little tab here where so I can grab a hold of it later. Next we have a very small star screwdriver here, and if you pick up your iPhone, right on the bottom of it there are two small screws here and here, and those need to come off. So I'll just unscrew those bad boys. You'll notice I have my screwdrivers magnetized. The old adage about you don't want any magnets near your computer stuff doesn't really work with iPhones or iPods or even regular cell phones, Droids and stuff, because it's all flash memory now. There's no magnetic physical memory anymore. Now once you got that off, you're going to need to take a straight edge. Now I have you can try this to start with. This is just a guitar pick, and what you have to do is pry this open, and a lot of times it's very difficult to start, and it's very hit or miss. This thing doesn't always work. You can, if you're really lucky, sometimes you can get a little suction cup, and that will work. Sometimes. Just put it on there and pull. Another good reason for the tape on the glass. Like I said, every single one is different, and if you see a video telling you, oh, yeah, just do it this way and you'll be fine, they're a bunch of liars. Because it changes. Every one, I've taken several apart, and every single one is different. So what I have now is I have a little flathead screwdriver, and I'm trying to use that to pry it up. Like I said, every single one is different, and some of them are a real pain in the caboose. It is so hard sometimes to get these off. I mean, you can keep trying, but and sometimes all you really need is determination. should also mention while I'm trying to get this apart, just as I said with everyone being different, so also excuse me, so also you have to take into account that you are going to destroy at least one or two. I said I've done quite a few of these, and it doesn't matter how many you do, at some point in time one of them will crack. You see right there, I started to lift that up a little bit now. So now I'm going to take my guitar pick here as I lift it up. I'm going to try to slide it underneath there when I lift it up with this flathead screwdriver. I don't know if you can see that very clearly in there, but come on. Typical. As soon as I lift that something up in order to help me keep it up, I can't do it anymore. Some of these are so difficult. Like I said, it all depends on the individual phone. None of them are the same. I really wish they were. I really do, because it would be so much simpler. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you can try and try. So no one particular method works. Here, I think I saw it opening just a little bit. The suction cup. I'm not getting enough force on the suction cup before it breaks free, though, I'm afraid. Alright, we're going to try this again. Doing this is one of those times when you really wish you had another hand coming right out of your chest. That'd be very useful. So if you happen to be in the medical field and figure out some way of making a usable hand, or even the robotics field, as soon as I pick this up, I can't get it open again. Can you believe that? Look at that. As soon as I put it down, I can spread it open a little bit. Up, up. I should also mention before you start any of this stuff, I didn't show it because I'd already turned this one off. There, I got it right underneath there. I'll stick that there so I can have a little something. Now you can also use one of these blue pry bar things, little plastic doohickeys. Practically every time you order a screen, they give you one of these. And a lot of times, they're not very decent because they gnar up pretty quick. However, ironically, you get these all the time, and when you get an iPod, or yeah, an iPod digitizer screen thing, but they work a lot better on iPhones. There we go. And you notice I went around the sides as soon as I got this one part open a little bit. And eventually what I ended up doing was just prying down and pushing up a little bit. Not too much. You don't want to be shoving this all the way in there because you can damage some things. But if you just push it in just a little bit, you can pry it up just enough to get something like your guitar pick in there and hold it. And then at that point, either with another guitar pick or with one of these plastic pry tools, go around the sides, and you'll notice this little side things here, so you're not going to be able to get underneath deep. But once you get this part up, pry these up a little bit, and eventually it will come right off. So as you see, those two screws, pretty much the only thing holding it together. And once you open this up, be very, very careful, because you got all these ribbon cables right here. And I tell you another good trick. I have a little plastic tray thing that got at the heart, or at the, oh, what do you call it, the hobby store. Usually used for beads and the like, to keep them separated. Doing it with this, using it to hold your screws, very good idea, because what happens is that you can use that to keep them separated, and so that you know they're not going to be going all over the place, because these screws are very tiny, and all it takes is one little bump, a sneeze like I had earlier. So you sneeze and your hand hits the table and it's gone. End of story. You can buy replacement screws, don't get me wrong, but the one time I had to buy replacement screws, it cost like $6 for a bag of screws. Not really worth your money. It's much easier just not to lose them in the first place. Okay, so now what we have is we have 3 Phillips screws right here underneath. It's holding this plate on. Underneath this plate is where all these ribbon cables are attached, and the ribbon cables go to your digitizer, your LCD screen, and your camera. front-facing camera, I guess it would be. So we gotta take all these screws out. And again, if you don't have a thing to magnetize your screwdrivers, I suggest you buy one, because as you're taking these out, they are so small that if you don't magnetize them, you could actually lose the screws inside the iPhone itself. And when I say they're so small, I'll try to put this up to the camera here. I don't even know if you can differentiate that between the screw on the end of that. But it is so, I mean, it's right there on the tip. It's probably, if you're lucky, it's a millimeter long. Oh, see, that one must not have as much ferrous than the other. It's not picking up with my magnet. Luckily, I have this. This is a great little gizmo here. Magnetize on one side, demagnetize on the other. And all you have to do is put your screwdriver in there, and go around in a circle, and rub that side, and that will magnetize your screwdrivers. Awesome, awesome little invention. Okay. And see right there, it just fell out into a little crevice where I did not want it to be. Unfortunately, you get this every once in a while. I mean, these screws are so small, and of course they don't always have enough iron in them, which is what allows the magnet to work. And you see I'm using this flathead screwdriver. Technically you should probably be using the plastic things, but it's not that big of a deal. Now, here's the thing. There's this little tab. It bends. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it bends. This tab, the middle part bends underneath to try to keep it in place. So you kind of just have to shift it back and forth to get it to come up. And there we go. That's all it is. And see, there's the little tabs where it bends down. Okay, now for this part, you definitely want to use something plastic, because what we have all these wires, all these ribbon cables here. You just very gently push them up, because although you might not be able to see, there are, well, I wouldn't say hundreds, but there's a lot of little pins right there, and they actually are pins, and it is capable of bending those pins if you don't pull them straight up. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a pain in the butt to get them out. And if this is too thick, because this is a little bit thicker, you can always use your guitar pick. There we go. And you notice, to save space, they have put these right on top of each other. 1, 2, and there's still one left to go. right underneath here. That one's actually fairly easy to get up. Careful not to disturb, that's your other camera, your rear facing camera. And there we go. There's the iPhone 5 digitizer LCD assembly, complete with the camera and everything on it. Now, a lot of places they have you just replacing the LCD digitizer screen or assembly. So you end up having to take this apart, the home button apart and the camera apart, and to get all those pieces out. And you basically, at this point, you'd put this part away, you end up having to disassemble this entire thing. And all the previous generations of iPhones, that's the only way you had to do it. And it was a pain. And the ribbon cables were made in such a way that if you put it back together just a little bit not right, the whole thing wouldn't work. And you would have to redo, buy a new digitizer screen, and do the whole thing, because if you mess up the ribbon cable, that's it. Luckily, I have found online the whole assembly, which makes it so much simpler. So here's the old one and the new one, and you'll notice it's got the whole setup, including the camera. They're a little bit more expensive to buy completely assembled like this, but it's worth it, because you are going to save so much time, so much effort, and so much headaches. So, we have our new one, and the same type of thing, only in reverse, and your ribbon cables are going to be a little stiff. I mean, don't let it freak you out. I mean, they are gentle, or they are delicate, but they're not that delicate. The biggest thing is you do not want to crease them. There are some ribbon cables that are designed to be creased, and the thing is with that is that when where they're supposed to be creased at, there will already be a crease there. If you put a crease where it shouldn't be, you're done. So remember that. So first off, I said I'm using this thing here, this blue tool, because again, we don't want to crack any of those pins, or bend them I should say. I'm lifting this up a little bit out of the way. And it's kind of tricky. But you take the flat end here, make sure you're certain, try to press down in the middle first, and you'll feel it kind of click in. You can almost hear it. So there's the first one. Again, I'm trying to move that other one out of the way so I can freaking see. Good thing with this generation too is that these ribbon cables, once you get the first one in, pretty much line themselves up pretty decent. I mean, you have to move them a little bit, but it's not bad. I mean, right there, boom. There went the second one. And now all you have to do is this very last one here. And since all the rest of them went in fairly easy, this one will be a pain in the butt, because that's just the way it is. those things too. It always surprises me why there aren't a lot more women in the tech field than there really is. Because women would be so much better at this with their small hands. There we go. It keeps wanting to go at an angle. Sorry, I'm trying to move myself at an angle here to get with this. See, all that talk about how easy it is, or how the new generation works out so much better, and this one is being a pain in the butt. It's just one cable. If I can just get it down in there correctly. Come on. And it always scares me too. There we go. I don't know if you heard that or not, but it finally clicked in there. It always scares me dealing with the ribbon cables because they are the most delicate thing in here. And you might be thinking, geez, I just destroyed this digitizer, you know, which, in case you didn't know, the digitizer is the actual glass part. It's referred to as a digitizer because it's got like a metal mesh in it for you to be able to use your finger, the touch finger thing. Okay, now what I gotta do is put it back together again. And then after we put it back together, we cross our fingers and turn it back on. Of course, first we're going to put this mat back on. And again, because it clicks down underneath there, try to put it in at an angle a little bit. Down with that side first. It's not hugely necessary because the screws will hold it in place more than anything else. And I'm going to get this little booger that didn't have any ferrous in it first, because that's going to be the hardest one to put in. Because that little guy will want to go all over the place. The good thing is that these 3 screws are all the same size. The other generation phone that I did, it was tough because in order to get to the ribbon cables, you had to take the whole thing apart, the whole phone, motherboard and everything, and you were basically left with just the frame just to get the ribbon cable for the digitizer off. The only bad part about having a magnetic screwdriver is that the screws are a little bit together. You pick up one, you pick up two, because they all stick together. There we go. 1, 2, 3. So they're real nice. Now before I shut it all the way, I like to go ahead and check it out and see if it comes on. good sign to have an apple. Well, on here. Now when putting it together, you want to put back down here on the by the home button first. Kind of gently move your way up. They're all click into space here. And you see digitizer is working. Home button's working. Okay. So now that we know that's all working, see, we can push it down a little bit as we go up here. Ah! And of course, I'm going to power this thing back off again because it's an active phone and I don't want it going off all the time. Get right in there quicker. Everybody's got to be difficult. So I have to take it back apart. Let's try a different way. Before we did it from the home button up, let's do it from the top, the opposite end, down. There we go. I know why this one side wants to be difficult. So there's always something. It's never a straight shot. Okay, see, now I'm pushing it down right there and actually pushing down a little bit. See if that does anything. So many of these phones that remind me of the old Snap-right car models. Sometimes they really just snap into place. going to make sure that everything's snapped down into place. I think that's up too high. In fact, I'm positive that's up too high. So let's see. Okay, move that middle frame out just a little bit. Pop that bad boy in. Always gotta be some way difficult. Maybe this replacement one's got a little section right there to lift up. No. Aha, there we go. There's the one side in nice and tight. And there's the other side in. So I just had to pry it in. Like I said, pry that metal frame out a little bit there to make sure that it went all the way down. And going back to the star screwdriver here. I'm all out of that. Throw those back in there. Tighten it down, very nice. All the way on. There it is. Power this down again. Notice what happened right here. I don't know if you can tell or not. Everything's got to be difficult. The bevel on this thing, on the digitizer, came up. Let's see if I can just push it back down. If not, laid plans. So what that means, we gotta take it back apart. As I said, everything is different, and each one is going to give you its own unique little problems. I'm showing you all the little, like I said, the problems that people have when doing this. That came up a lot easier now this time. Because I must have stuck up a little bit when I was pushing it all the way around. There we go. That might have been the reason why this wasn't shutting so easily too. There you go. That's better. That was easy to fix. And as I said, if you're not willing to pay the price if something goes wrong, then don't do this. The first iPhone that I fixed, I think was generation 3, had many more screws in it. The whole warning about make sure you don't lose a screw, guess what happened? I lost some screws. So I ended up having to tell the guy that I was repairing it for that it was going to be a little bit longer because I had to wait for screws to come in. Same token, with the ribbon cable, second one I repaired. When you put the digitizer down, it had to fold over in an exact manner. Folded it over in a non-exact manner, and that was the end of that. Digitizer had to wait for another one to come in. And when I say had to wait for another one to come in, yes, that means I had to buy another one. You don't get a, hey, I'm sorry, I ruined this digitizer, can you send me a new one? No, don't work that way. So if you spend $60 on a digitizer and you accidentally ruin it, you want to continue on, you spend another $60. That's $120 right there just in the digitizers. So if you're not willing to take the risk, don't do it, because you will ruin them a couple times. I mean, unless you're a prodigy, which you might be, who knows. But there it is, everything looks nice and sealed. This right here is just a cover for the new glass. And if I'm doing this for somebody else, I usually leave that on and let them take it off. I mean, in actuality, when you turn it on, you can operate everything with this plastic film on, so you can test it and everything. But it's a nice little flourish when you give it back to somebody and be like, yeah, see, look, and then you just peel this off, and they're all like, wow, it's brand new. I think that's all I have. I hope this helped. And that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned a little bit. As said, hopefully since I showed you all the things that could go wrong, it will give you an idea of that if something, like it didn't seal properly, don't freak out about it right away. Just back up and try it again. Have a pleasant day.